Welcome to our podcast. I'm Iris from the Hair Chapel in Brisbane. We know hair, we understand business, and we drink wine.
My name's Meg, owner of Era Hair in Brisbane also. We're here to have fun. We're here to laugh about the sad truth and reality of running business, running our chaotic lives and making it all work.
Cheers!
Cheers.
We've got a beautiful guest, Riley, here. I've known Riley for a very long time, and his beautiful sister is working in our salon as well. And he is a mortgage broker and has quite a bit of experience by talking to people and business about money as well. And that's why we brought him on, because as creative types, hairdressers, there is a lot of people who are not managing their money very well. So please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Iris. So I'm Riley Connolly. I own Press Finance Solutions, mortgage broker here locally in Cleveland and Redlands. Pretty much what we try to do is we're investment lending. We try to help clients that come in that may be property investors or not yet, and then we walk them through the steps to be able to become one, if that makes sense. So just really, hand in hand, we make sure we can help our clients, from the start of their journey to the end.
Yeah, and this is it, because you've now started your own journey in business. I've been in business, and I think we always been so passionate, and every opportunity that we get, we talk about business. And there was a really good post that you did on your Instagram the other day as well. But talk to me, what does business look like for you?
So business is one of those things, right? It's a very hard thing to get your head around. When you're inside of it, it seems like there's a lot going on, and to the people outside looking in, they think that it's just going smooth sailing. But the reality is, a business, that's just not how it works, right?
Nope.
So a lot of the time, everyone expects you to be doing this well, but in reality, you're just treading water, right? So I put a post up the other day just explaining that the business reality versus myths, and a lot of the myths are that you're making shitloads of money, you're going to buy all these supercars, you're going to be going on all these extravagant holidays, while some may be, not everyone is, right? And I sort of put up a post going that just because someone owns a business doesn't mean they're absolutely killing it. So let's start to remember that, they're basically bought themselves a job in 99% of the cases. And it takes a lot of hard work. It's years of dedication, and it's not just one of those things overnight you become a millionaire, right? And I think a lot of people that aren't business owners really think that's how it works, which is really not good.
No, and I totally agree, because we've got a lot of people in the industry as hairdressers who have really worked really, really hard to get to a certain level, and now they're absolutely killing it. And now they're being constantly accused of ripping people off for charging what they're charging. And I think it's one of them stigmas in the industry. Obviously, as hairdressers, we are very, in general, underpaid. It's an underpaid job, regardless. And then there is salons out there who are doing really, really well by charging the right thing so they can offer their staff more money. But in general, it's very low wage. And the reason why I think it's good for you to come on is for those people in the hairdressing industry as staff members who do not earn a huge amount of money, they sometimes feel like they're hopeless and they can't save or they can't get stuff together. And we want to get them on the property ladder or whatever it is. So what advice do you have for people who are actually not having the ability to put a lot of money away because they are on a decent wage?
My first response is team up with someone. Either start really small or team up, whether that's a partner or a family member. There's so many opportunities for people not to just go out on their own now. I think if we look at other countries in the world as a reflection, they all seem to team up with their money. And Australia is we individually invest, we individually earn. I think we need to start to come together a little bit more and realize that might have worked for the last 30 years, but it's not going to work in the next 30 years, right? So team up with a sibling, a partner, a friend, and whether that be property, you don't need a large amount of money to get into the property market nowadays. There's 5% deposit schemes and all of the other things available for first home buyers. Use them, right? While they might not be the best thing for specific clients, they are also really good for other clients that need that, right? So, you can get into a $600,000 property with around $32,000. So to save up 32 grand between two, it can't be that hard. You just couple years of dedication and you'll get there. So stop trying to tackle a $200,000 deposit when you don't need to, right? Just start small, compound, and make sure that you're being smart with your money, not spending more than you earn, just paying attention to the little numbers.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because I've got one of my members of staff who we sat down on the sofa the other day and she was saying, oh my God, it's just hopeless. every property around here is like over $1 million. And me and my boyfriend, we're just apprentices. And then once we start earning money, we're never going to get there. And then I spoke to you not so long ago, and we were talking about, hang on a second, why doesn't she not buy in the area first, buy something else? Now, tell me about that, because I think it's great.
So it's called renvesting. I'm a huge advocate for it. I love it very much. I implement this myself as well. So that's how you know it's good.
Absolutely.
There you go. So basically, you go and rent where you want to live, which could be in the city or in a suburb that you grew up in or love or close to your work, and then go buy where you can afford. 9 times out of 10, you cannot afford to buy where your parents bought and you grew up, right? That could be the eastern suburbs of Sydney. There's no chance of getting in there, right? So as a first home buyer, you have to go out far. You have to go into a more regional area, or an area that's maybe not so popular, or maybe a dodgier area. But why live there when you can just buy that as an investment and then have that property paying for itself, generating income, and then you get to continue to live in the desired area and for less money, right? So using the surplus income, the surplus money you have from paying that rent into investing property, you'll be able to cash flow a point of being very comfortable and still living where you want to live while having a property growing in value. And that's where it becomes so important.
And I think that is really to get your head around that. I think for people to understand is you buy outside, you have a lower deposit. However, because now those people are paying the rent, you paying off your mortgage, hopefully your property goes up in value a little bit. You will then eventually either keep that property and buy somewhere else or in your area because you've got the equity in there,
right, yeah.
or even also a possibility sell that property and then use the bigger deposit to get into your area. And 100%. I think that is what people really miss to understand, because I think they are so desperate to buy their own house and be so proud. Hey, I was there. I remember it. But to live in that house that they've purchased, rather than, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to buy something else, invest, and then eventually let other people's money work for you.
Exactly right, yeah.
And that is a really good
And
way.
it's one of those things, right? You see it all the time. People that want to get into their dream home, and they will stop at nothing. And it's their biggest mission in life, and they try to get there first. Everyone that I know and everyone that you know has started off with a $500,000 property, moved to an $800,000 property, $1 million property, 1.3, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
They don't start at 1.5, right?
No.
So let's get this stigma out of the way that you're not going in and putting all of your money into this dream home, because it's not going to be your dream
It's
home.
not going to happen.
You're moving every 5 to 7 years anyway. So why would you want to completely stretch yourself when all you could have done on the other foot would have been invest that money, let that grow, maybe have another couple investments going on. So then instead of having just one dream home growing, you've got 2 investment properties. Yeah, they're worth the same amount in value, but they're producing income and they're growing, right? Yeah. And you get to still live in the area that you've always wanted to live. So you're technically getting the same thing, but it's costing you a lot less to live there. And that's why I love it so much.
Yeah. No, I think it's really, really good advice. And like when we went on a retreat with our staff, and we actually printed all that sort of stuff up, details off, and I went over them, and the girls all of a sudden saw things completely differently. And it's important to talk about that, because parents are not necessarily good with money. Not everybody is. You know, some people are, some people are not. I happen to have learned to be okay with money. I'm not great, but we don't teach it in schools either. So it's so important to have people like yourself come on and teach people that just having that little bit of money that you save every week then to buy your house, and that's the be all and end all, because it's absolutely not. Now, how do you feel about investing? Do you think that there should be just one investment, or do you think you should be spreading your money in different things?
Do you want to run your salon with confidence?
Then you have to come to me. I run an 8-week program from booked out boss to fired up salon owner. Go to my website, saloncoachingbiz.com, and you can book a complimentary, no obligation consultation with myself for a business analysis.
So an accountant would always say diversify, right? But I am sort of under the impression that when you're spreading out too much of a small amount of money, if you don't have a lot to work with, right, you know, putting a few dollars or a tens of dollars into an investment in such doesn't really make much of a difference unless you're doing it for a really extended period of time. So you may as well pick something, whether that's, and you're always taking a bet on something, right? So a majority of Australians pick property. That's what they believe in, and they'll pick property. Some people pick stocks. Some people pick other things like that. Pick what you want and then focus on it, right? Because you're going to get way more out of it betting on something that you strongly believe in, and you're going to enjoy the experience a lot better, because obviously things go up and down. You're more likely to keep money into something that you're more passionate about and ride the wave. Because if you see a stock, the hard thing about stocks, right, is you see it go down every day, right? So you can go up one day, you can see the percentage, you can see the amount. That's exciting, but then the next day you see it red and you feel like, oh, maybe I should take this out. And the reality is a lot of people invest high and sell low, which is the absolute opposite of what you're supposed to do. They just get it wrong. But because the emotion comes into it, that's why bricks and mortar are probably a safer asset to sort of park your money in, because you can't see it grow. You only find out it's growing when you sell it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't realize that it's going up 10,000 or down 10,000 in one day. And that's probably the best thing for most people, is not being able to see it. That's why, superannuation, out of sight, out of mind. It's invested in stocks and shares and all that, but people don't know, and it's out of sight, out of mind. They don't care, they don't realize, and it's not like they're sitting there freaking out about it.
Yeah. And again, with super as well, we as business owners, one of the things a lot of hairdressers or business owners for hairdressing salons, they have no super. They don't have a super. It's the last thing that you pay. You pay it for all your staff, but you don't pay for yourself. And the other day I was looking at changing my super up a little bit. And I think it's because inflation has gone so high all of a sudden, where you look and you go, so I had a chat with ChatGTP, and ChatGTP told me that with inflation, my super wasn't going to be worth what I wanted it to be worth. No. So I had to have a chat about it to add so much to my super every week in order now to have the amount in 15 years, because inflation is going to play such a big role that what I thought I was going to have, I'm now not going to have anymore. And so inflation is a big thing on that. But then the most important thing is what you just said, was the compounding interest. And I don't think people understand what that actually is.
It has immense power. And especially with super, it's one of those things that it's one of those things that you don't really notice. It comes out of your pay and it's all that. But business owners are terrible for it. It's business 101, pay your own super. And because you don't have to, you don't normally, because you'd prefer to have that X amount of dollars in your bank account to reinvest into the business. And in the early days of business, or any point in business, you're reinvesting almost every single dollar you earn straight back into the business. So it's easy for a business owner to go, I'll just cut myself short and I'll start doing it next year. I'll do it next month, or I'll do it next week. And that happens all the time, and I see it. Trust me, when I go through financials, I'm like, what are you doing? You need to get on top of that, because they're making lots and lots and lots of money, but it's just going everywhere. There's no structure. And I think a lot of people would benefit from having a little bit more of a, sit down and go through their finances. I think a lot of the time people just sort of wing it week to week. Well, majority of people just wing it week to week. You would gain so much just by sitting down, 10 minutes a week, just planning out the next week. I do it every day. My partner and I, everything is very to the cent, right? Budgets, everything is worked out so that we know exactly how much we have to spend, save in that week until the next week, and what's coming up, all the bills. You've got to understand what's coming up and what's expected. Otherwise, you're just going to be living week to week, and unexpected bills going to hit, and everything will unravel. Because if you don't have emergency buffers, holiday buffers, all of these things are going to you're going to go, oh, I want to book a holiday. Where does it come from? Your car service. You just you've got to have
super money.
Yeah, super money. Exactly right. You've got to spread your money, but don't put it into one pot and go, look how much money I have. You need to separate it, put the buckets. All those banking apps now have all those buckets you can put them in. The best thing ever.
That is one of my, in my 8-week program that I do, one of the weeks is, 1 week you sit back, you write down all your weekly, monthly, yearly, quarterly expenses. And then I make everybody set up an account, obviously for BAS GST, all their extra expenses, stock, you name it, rent, extra wages, because people hold it in one pot, like you just say, and then they pay from one and then pay from another. Now, one thing that I've done that completely changed my business was setting up a profit account separately from any of my accounts or offset accounts that I have, so I can't immediately touch it. And one of the things that I will teach you straight away if you come on my program is I don't care how less you earn. I don't care if you've got no money in the business. Put $1 away, put $5 away, put $10 away a week in your profit account. In the end of the year, that is true profit that sits there. It's money really earned. And I think the importance of running your business, once you put that money away in a faraway account, you cannot see that money anymore. So you have to run your business leaner.
Yep.
It's the same with putting that super away.
Yep.
Every week you put that away, it accumulates compound interest, and you have so much money at the end of it. And I think the problem is with profit, you go to the end of the year and your accountant said, oh, you had so much profit this year. And you go, where's it gone?
Exactly,
Oh, yeah, no, it's gone on to this, that, and the other. That's not, okay, it's profit. When you sell your business, you can prove that it was profit. But you haven't benefited from it like when we said it in the beginning of the podcast. We work so hard. That profit is your bonus from working those extra hours.
Right,
if you don't put that away, why you've just bought yourself a job.
Yourself a job. And reality is 99% of business owners have. They've just bought themselves a full-time job and they're probably earning less than what they would if they were working for someone else. And they've got a lot less time because they're constantly working. Comes back to that thing where you're working every hour, which is all of the hours. You know, you get to build your own time sheet, your own week. But the reality is you're working day, morning, night, afternoon, lunchtime, holidays, weekends, everything. That's just part of being a business owner. I think a good thing that people could do is really just sit down, look at their bank account and go, how can I make what's happening in the next 6 months, 12 months benefit me, right? So I've got all this money coming in. How much do I absolutely need to either live on or run the business with, right? So you work out that bottom dollar.
Yeah.
Anything above that, you might put away for whatever it is, but separate the money, because once it's all there, people just have no self-control, and I see it all the time. And when we go through a lot of financials, right? And we see all of the different types of people. You see the very organized and you see the very unorganized. And there's almost no in between. It's always one of those. You've just got to sit down and go, what's going on, okay? Because you can't just continue to wing it week by week, because you're not going to have a strong business. In 5-10 years, you're going to go look back and go, what have I got to show for the last 10 years?
Absolutely.
And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And
No, I totally agree with that. And there is a bit of a problem with that, because when you actually, in our industry, we have had a big shift of people who run salons and had staff to people who become solopreneurs, we call them. They have left the hairdressing job module and they're starting to rent a chair in a salon. So they are self-employed, one person, and they have been sold a dream of, you can choose your time, you can do this, you can do that. But then last week I had somebody off sick in the salon, and you know what? That girl could be sick at home, not stressed. She had sick pay. On that sick pay, I will pay her super. The whole team got together and all her clients were looked after. Nobody had to worry, nobody had to stress. If you're a solo operator, if you're not working, you're not earning money.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's directly related to how much effort you put in.
Yeah.
And that's where the point of business is to build it into set it up properly, like structure it from day one properly, put yourself into a position where you're going to be able to benefit from the company and the people you employ, so that it's not just a full-time job you've earned yourself and the person that's working for you. You want your employees to be an investment to you and to themselves. And you do that very well, obviously. You really bring people into your team and you empower them, and you make profit from it and they make profit from it. So it's like, why not have a business structured like that versus somebody that's completely treading water and just not organized and just completely struggling, and then they end up going away from business and going, that was shit, I'll never do it again, right? Where there's a huge difference between that.
I totally agree. And I think one of the biggest taboos in business is people are scared about talking about money. I'm in business to make freaking money. I'm not scared of that. I want to make money. I'm not here to support you as an employee. That's not my job. It's your job to come into my business. It's for me to give you the opportunity. I give you the opportunity. What you do with that opportunity is up to you. But at the end of the day, you don't have to just make the right amount of money to be in my business. No. You have to make money surplus of what your wages is, so I can draw from that for me giving you the opportunity to work,
taking
but
all the risk, yeah.
also the
Yeah,
risk.
yeah,
exactly
right, yeah.
right. It's the risk and the sleepless nights and all the other things that people don't see and don't understand. So therefore, there's again a lot of businesses, solopreneurs out there who don't pay GST, who don't pay tax, who do cash in hand, who do all of that, no super and so on and so forth. And you see it on social media groups. Oh, my hairdresser can do it for $100, and it's like, but you're not contributing to society. And then the businesses who doing the right thing get punished. I've said it so many times on this podcast, get punished because we have to cover all the taxes, all the GST for you people to be able to work illegit.
100%, yeah. And there's a lot of extra expenses in the business that people don't take into consideration.
100%.
They go, you know, we got insurance, payroll tax, all those things that aren't just little amounts of money. You know,
No.
they're a big chunk of money that can be the difference between somebody's profit that
Yeah.
month or week or year. And I see it all the time. Like there's specific industries where, you know, they might be running at a tighter margin. Like, you know, you got trades typically running at a lower, like, you know, they need to do a lot of turnover, and their money's normally tied up in a builder or a contract or waiting on an invoice
Yeah.
to be paid. And that can be the difference between a business that is about to sink or be running comfortably, because if you have an invoice that isn't paid or is waiting to be paid, that can put huge stress on the business owner, the employees, the relationships of all those people around that. And it doesn't just have a effect to the business, it has a lead-on effect. I always talk about finance is one of those things that can trickle down into so many different things. Like 35% of all relationships fail because of finance, right?
Yeah.
So even if it is just a conversation that might put you onto a better trajectory, you know, you've just saved yourself a chance of 1 in 3 relationships failing, right?
None of this would be possible with our amazing sponsors, NAC.
And either would great hair.
Do you want to be part of a great hair care range, education team, and community? Go to their website, nachair.com.au.
And that's why the biggest advice I have to people is pay attention to what's happening inside your wallet and outside, because it all has a huge effect on your personal life, your relationship, and realistically just everything going on. It's very easy to get unstuck and realize that maybe I don't have as much money as I have, or I don't earn enough, but the reality is you're spending so much more. We're not in a cost of living crisis, we're in a cost of spending crisis. And I think a lot of people
agree.
get very offended when I say that,
Yeah.
but it's true. If
It's
you look
true.
at all of the things like 10, 20 years ago, you know, there wasn't the need of having a Netflix and Amazon, a Disney Plus, all those things. Yes, there might be $10 a month, your Spotify's and all those things, but that adds up really, really quick. And, you know, a difference of $100 a month might be a date night. And we all know how important date nights are to relationships,
100%.
right? So huge trickle-on effect, and people don't realize that. So get a good understanding of what's going on with your finances and communicate with your partner.
Yeah.
And I think people keep everything so separate. Like my partner and I, everything's completely joint. We
Yeah.
earn the same amount. We earn the same into the same income, into the same accounts, and it's our money. It's
Yeah.
not hers and mine. It's ours.
Yeah.
Our expenses, our bills, her debts, my debts, her debt. That's just how it works.
But that's good if you're very honest with each
yeah.
other. Like, obviously, you know, me and my husband, but we have fought and argued about money. That has always been one of the biggest things.
Everyone
If
does,
we
yeah.
do argue, it's probably got to do with money. Definitely when the business wasn't doing right. And I am the first person to say I would not be where I am if I didn't have my husband earning a good wage. Because there has been times where he's had to fully support the business because I wasn't doing all the things that I'm teaching everybody.
yeah.
And it's because I have found it the hard way. But like you say, sometimes people haven't got it, who haven't got the ability to lean on somebody else to allow them to learn the lesson, they go broke. And that is very, very sad in a business. Know your money, talk to your partner, but don't overspend. And it's funny because we were talking the other day about, where should we open a second location? And I mean this no disrespect to certain locations, but in the best affluent areas, it's not necessarily the best place to be because they are savvy with their money, because they know how to save, they know how to spend their money in the right areas. Go in a lesser well-off demographic and the people will spend
They stretch themselves. Yeah, 100%.
they stretch themselves. They might not be able to pay the rent at the end of the week, but God, they will have $1,000 hair extensions.
They'll pay for it. They'll choose the wrong thing over the right thing any day of the week. And that is
Correct.
exactly why they're in that position. And that's why I do the content I do every single day, is not for any other reason other than educating. I think a lot of the people, well, everyone, doesn't know all about finance. And it's actually quite scary. I think as I started to become more of a professional in this industry, and educating myself and getting to the point where I am, I started to forget how little people know. And it started to impact how I was treating clients, because I was expecting them to know things because I knew them.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing I had to overcome, because I had to literally not dumb it down, but it felt like it, right?
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me to do, because I was like, no, they understand. They understand what I'm talking about. But the reality is they don't.
Yeah.
People they would gain a lot just from educating themselves around finance. There's so much to learn, and school doesn't teach you. Life doesn't even really teach you.
No.
one really knows what a mortgage is. No one really understands what interest is, compounding interest, all those things that people hear a lot. Ask a person on the street to tell me the difference between a redraw and an offset. No one could tell you.
Yeah.
And the reality is they're such important tools into everyday life. If you have a mortgage, they're extremely important, but people don't know how to use them or what even they are.
Yeah.
And that's where things can get quickly bad, because no one actually has any idea what's going on. They're still relying on either their auntie or uncle telling them some random story about what they did when they were their age, or their parents, and their parents might be absolutely shocking. I know so many people who have gotten financial advice or done the same things as their family, ended up in huge credit card debt and just completely underwater, because they just got no structure and no plan and no understanding on how it works.
Don't understand money. Yeah.
And it's really dangerous.
It is really dangerous. So yeah, I think it has, to me, it baffles me how they don't get taught in school money, mortgages, offsets, compound interest, super. None of that gets taught into school. But why is that? Because we are in a spending crisis and in a debt crisis. And the government relies on people being in debt, not in the right debt, but into debt. And therefore, I don't think, call me conspiracy theorist, I don't care, but that's why people are, why kids are not being taught properly. And then it's so difficult for, like yourself, when you want to speak to people who have no idea about money, and you want them to invest, or you want to teach them, but they just have been so focused on spending that it's very hard then to scale back on that.
100%. And you did say good debt versus bad debt there, which is a good thing to touch on, because a lot of people think the debt they have is good debt, but the reality is it's all bad debt.
Yeah.
Even your own home is technically a bad debt,
Yeah.
because it's not producing any income. Yes, it's growing in equity, and that's usually people's argument, but it's not doing anything other than costing you a shitload of money to live in. And even if we unpack the numbers between rent vesting, that could be a mortgage that's thousands of dollars a week or a month. You can go rent that same property for half that price, or 80% of the price, and then you use that surplus income to go and invest in a smaller asset that's then good debt. You still have a property, you still have debt, but it's good debt. It's earning you an income, and you're still living in what you would be buying if you had bad debt. I think a lot of people think that the more flashy their house is and their car, the more it portrays how much they're doing well. But the reality is, like, you see all these people that have 5, 10, 15 investment properties that would count their dollars for groceries.
Yeah.
But the reality is they're sitting on a $15, $20 million portfolio. And yeah, you might have a flashy house next to the water or whatever, but you're paying absolutely all of your money into repayments, and you got literally no surplus cash, but you're just making it look cool. So many people do that, and it's the worst thing they can do.
Yeah, we made a decision a few years back when we were neighbors, we decided to move from the house that we had, and we were going to downsize and get rid of the mortgage. And now we actually regret that, because even though we own our house, we're now not making any money. So we have to now make a decision on how we're going to invest our money, which we've been talking about, and how we're changing stuff. But yeah, even though no debt is good, but then you spend all your money, and I'm not investing it in the right places either.
Right, yeah.
So I think it's great. Have you got any last thing that you want to say?
Yeah, probably just speak to professionals, speak to mortgage brokers, speak to accountants. Like, we're here to help. And 75% of all residential loans are written by mortgage brokers, and that just is a clear representation of how much people prefer that personal aspect of lending, right? You go to a bank, you just number. They approve, decline, they don't give about you, right? And the reality is people stick with a home loan for way too long. They end up paying loyalty tax. They're not really seeking a better deal, a better structure, and they just sort of put themselves, they might be paying off a mortgage and making all this equity, but the reality is they're paying way too high of a mortgage. Their rates just fluctuating and they don't understand what's going on. Speak to a mortgage broker, speak to an accountant, speak to a financial planner, and really understand what's going on in your personal life and what you want to achieve in your financial goals and future. Because what we do as a mortgage broker is we don't just work on something that's good for you now. We'll try to make sure that we can get you to your financial goals as smoothly and as easy as possible. And we work with you from now till then, where we go along with the journey, both physically and emotionally. We're there for you. So reach out, talk to us. We're here to help, and we'll always be around, because I can't imagine anyone not liking the personal aspect of the lending stuff, because that's our biggest sales point, and it matters a lot,
Yeah, absolutely. So where can people find you?
Pretty much everywhere. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. So Riley Connolly on that one, and then Press Finance is obviously our business account. So you can find us all on those. Also YouTube.
Yeah. So I think it's been a great episode. I think if people have got any questions, when we're going to post them on our socials as well, they can definitely comment and then get in contact with you for some help as well on those mortgages. And I think we've learned a lot. I think a lot of people had a few light bulb moments.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So thank you for coming.
That's all good.
And yes, thank you for listening, watching. If you like it, please give us a thumb up and subscribe as well. And hope to hear you and see you next time. Thank you, Riley.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.